My wife asked me to let her sleep with other men because she survived cancer, but when I told her no, she started having multiple affairs behind my back. A couple of weeks ago, my wife came to me saying she needed to get something off her chest. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that going through cancer a year ago taught her that life is too short, and that she wants to experience things. I knew what she meant. She always wanted to travel, but we never had the money. I took her hand and told her we can do it. We can travel the world. I'll find a second job and save every dime I make off it. That will be our travel money. That's really sweet, honey, but that's not what I meant, she replied. It hurts to even ask this, but I want to sleep with other men while still being with you. I stood still. My world felt like it had just collapsed. It took me a minute, but I told her that I couldn't let her sleep with someone else and stay with her. The betrayal just felt too much to bear. She seemed upset at first, telling me that I was holding her back from experiencing life after what she'd been through. I suggested she take up other hobbies that made her life more fulfilling, and she reluctantly agreed. The next few weeks after she popped the question, her behavior changed. She would come home from the office late a few nights out of the week. When she would come home, she would tell me that she was just hanging out with her coworkers, or had to stay later to help work on a project, and I didn't pay much attention to it at first. One time I saw her come home particularly late in clothes that she hadn't left the house in. Her makeup was done beautifully, and she wore a red dress, much like Jessica Rabbit's. She looked really happy as she walked into the house. I asked her why she had changed her outfit from her usual work attire to this elegant dress, and she said they had an after-hours work event to boost the morale of the team. I asked her where it was, and why she hadn't brought it to me. She only answered one of my questions. She said they didn't allow them to bring spouses because the food bought was on the company's dollar. I let it go, and she went upstairs to prepare for bed. In the following days, she wore her makeup the same way from that night, and started wearing more vibrant fitted work clothes. It was a subtle change, but I knew Mia, and Mia despised wearing makeup, unless it was a special occasion. On the weekends, I noticed while she was running errands, she would now start putting on makeup and the expensive perfume I bought her for one of our anniversaries. She didn't wear it when we went out though. The dates between us started to become few and far between, and it wasn't because I wasn't planning them. Every time I would try to propose a candlelight dinner or reading in a park, Mia said she would be busy that day, or that she was tired and wanted to rest. But later that day, she would leave the house to go somewhere alone. I didn't want to bring up the changes I saw because I figured this was probably what she meant by feeling alive. She was taking care of herself more and dressing herself up. Who would I be to tell her otherwise? Some days, after running errands, she would tell me how a guy in the grocery store hit on her. I was never the jealous type, but she would go on and on about how the guy looked at her. Even at work, she would come home, and the second I would ask her about her day, she would lead to how a certain guy at her job was so smart and how great he was at problem solving. The uneasiness settled in when we would host game nights at our house and my male friends would come over to play. After they left, Mia would go on about how cute they were when they were losing, or how another one was so funny. She seemed to have taken an interest in them, and I debated not having people over anymore, but at the same time, I didn't want to take away any fun experiences from Mia, considering she almost lost her life. I felt torn. I knew I had to talk to her, so after work one day I made her dinner and brought up her recent changes. I told her I noticed she was coming home late often, wearing makeup, dressing better and talking about more dudes in her life. I told